let's get to that part, and
Okay.
it's twofold because there's a different side to this aspect of you, and it's been interesting to me because I've known about it for so long, but I'm a skeptic, lifelong skeptic. But you sort of like, I come up from the crowd of like, well, where there's evidence, there's a thing. I don't really have any meters to understand what you do, but in the realm of these two aspects of you, I promise I'm going to stop being vague in a second.
Okay.
Um,
I'm waiting. I'm patient.
you, I don't know if you other people call you this. I think you might also call yourself this as well. You're a healer.
Yes. I can't deny it anymore.
Yeah.
I tried, but yeah.
By a descriptive and by occupation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a spiritual aspect of it in a lot of ways because I do counsel a lot of people. But on the physical side, yeah, I'm a massage therapist and I beat people up for a living. Again, with the whole beating people up thing. I like it. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. The human body is so amazing. It can repair so much more than we give it credit for. It can take care of things more than we allow it to too often. But you know, one of the guys that I brag about the most, and I asked permission before I said anything. He is a client of mine, so I wanted to make sure that everything was cool. He got into a motorcycle accident that ripped his right knee cap off. Like it was dangling, but enough to sort of be reattached. And they basically told him you're going to be on crutches and then a walker and then in a wheelchair and you're never going to walk again. That was 4 years ago. Currently, he is a part of my fight club at Sherwood. I can't say my fight club, but the fight club I'm with, the Messengers of Ragnarok.
You're talking about it.
There
are rules.
There are rules, right? Don't talk about the fight club, except talk about the fight club, because we need more people.
No one else shows up.
We've got seven people showing up right now, and one of them is my client, who's not only walking. Obviously, he's in fighting shape, and he has been part of both the Houston and Austin roller derby teams as an official skating. So he was like told he was never going to walk. Man's been on skates and is now buying armor so that he can hit his friends with a stick. It's so great.
And you definitely need knees for that.
Absolutely need a knee for that.
They're important.
He went back to the doctor about after a year of us working on him. When we first started, he started getting muscle definition. He had huge gaps, divots missing of muscle underneath the skin, and no cartilage whatsoever. They had to go in, scrape everything out, clear it all out. And he went back in. They did more scans and x-rays, and they were like, this is not medically possible. You have cartilage regrowing. And his response to medically impossible was just to laugh and say, well, you haven't met my massage therapist. She loves when people say it's medically impossible. She will change your mind on that. And I'm like, don't start pushing that out there on folks. Like, I can only pull the miracle out every once in a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an amazing thing to it. Like, actually getting to heal people, helping them feel better. You know, I just got back from a massage that I've been working on that lady now for like 5 years. And she flat out said if it weren't for me, she wouldn't be able to keep doing what she's doing. You know, it's really cool. It's really cool getting to help make people feel better physically, because then mentally and emotionally and spiritually and everything else helps and starts falling in line.
It ties to everything.
Absolutely.
It ties to everything. Like if something in my bag is messed up, it's everything is off.
Yep.
And plus there's the pursuit of things that make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely sit to play guitar. Like you can see, there's a whole host of guitars. There's more behind Gaia here. If I can't stand and play and jam out, then that's a sad day.
That's a problem.
It's a sad day, which is why we had to get the hand fixed today.
Get the hand fixed today, yeah.
It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
That's the center of everything you do.
That's all about it. And I actually came up with a way to release the wrists, the thing that I do, pop in there with that I've done on you, but these people don't know. I developed while working at HostGator. It was a cube farm, and they hired me as a massage therapist, and I had 5 minutes at each desk while people are still taking calls and still taking chats. I had 5 minutes to fix them. So I had to actually figure out a way to pop the wrist, pop the shoulder, pop, the shoulder, the elbow, the clavicle, everything, move everything in here, fingertip to fingertip, in 5 minutes. So I had to come up with this great thing. And it can be intense. I've bruised people doing it, but then at the same time, they're like, but I can move. Like, that's so cool.
You've heard my reaction many times. It's a giggle that I don't do any other time.
Oh yeah.
It's not a jolly thing. It's more like
yeah.
It's like a deep guttural like
holy God, I didn't know that could move.
What is that? Then it's like if that was constant, that would make me become a supervillain for sure.
Right. Yeah, keep that laugh up. You're awesome, Maddie. Sorry, I had to jump in on that. I got a you're awesome, so.
I had something that went away. What was the other thing?
I don't know.
The healing aspect.
Oh,
so
yeah, the other part of that.
Getting back to me calling myself a skeptic and wanting to get evidence. It's been an odd thing with you. We've had very in-depth spiritual discussions.
Oh yeah.
So many things. I can't even begin to describe them. But in terms of being a healer and sort of believing in the power to heal people and defy medical opinion.
Right.
It's been an odd thing with you because, and I think I told you this after my back injury, it's an odd thing. Like, I may not believe what you believe in, but I believe in your ability to somehow make it work.
Right. I believe that you believe, and that helps.
Well, it's somehow it's I think it's a little bit beyond believing that you believe, because that's just, it's acceptance, right? That's easy. That's an easy thing to say.
Sure.
But it's a different thing to me to be able to like say, I believe in your ability to, we're going to keep saying belief, but I believe in your ability to make belief work.
Right.
On a broad scale. And it's something that I've been subjected to at odd times in my life, but you have always been consistent. My cousin Brian has always been consistent in that thing. And there's not many people I can point to say like, oh, you don't. So we're going to have a discussion about this on a scientific level, but first go see her.
Right. I know the night you're talking about, or one of the nights you're talking about specifically, was at your last house.
A lot of things.
That last house, that one night, pregnant with Shane, because I was always pregnant. But yeah, the storms.
When you decoded my house.
Yes.
So.
You explain that one.
Okay, so I've long been a caretaker of my grandparents. I moved in with them, or we moved houses to a new house, and there was just all sorts of weird stuff that we thought we were all sort of screwing with each other.
Right.
I thought my grandpa just had a weird sense of humor and was doing goofy things in the new house, and I thought my grandma was the same way, and my uncles that would come over. My cousin lived there with everything. My girlfriend at the time would live with me for a short time there. This whole host of things that continued for a long, long time. It still continued to this day. It's weird. I trip on that 14th step every time I run up those stairs.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Always. And you always will.
It's a goofy thing. It's even I have to slow down. And I'm like, hey, okay. If I become aware of it, then it doesn't happen. If I'm strolling up the stairs at a casual pace, every time, 14th step, eat it.
Right.
So there was a weird night, and I don't think I really knew you all that well. Or
it was like one of the first times we actually hung out.
Yeah, and Brandon too. Brandon, I had hung out with your husband at the time. We had hung out a little bit.
For a magic thing, wasn't everybody doing a magic thing? And I ended up watching a Robin Williams comedy thing and dying.
Yeah,
I thought I was
most of us
baby laughing so hard.
I've talked about this. I talked about this a lot of time on the Tapcast or different podcasts that we do. We were ramping up to get ready for a Pro Tour qualifier because we were playing in a ton of tournaments.
Right,
ton of tournaments. We were decently ranked, and we were just play testing the hell out of stuff. So I had a giant gathering of people to come over. Let's play test everything there is. Let's spend hours doing this and just have a freaking blast. So jokes were told. All sorts of fun was had. Brandon had his back. We were sitting at the table upstairs. Brandon had his back to the middle bedroom. And at some point, he just sort of casually mentions to me, he's like, you want to close that door behind me? And I was like, why? I was really curious, just to kind of, because some of the conversations that Brandon and I had in the parking lot back at the office, after coming back from tournaments and being in the parking lot talking until 4 or 5 in the morning, sometimes even further into the daytime.
Yep.
So I was like, why do you want the door closed, Brandon?
Why?
What's going on in the bedroom?
What's wrong?
And he just sort of raises an eyebrow in a very calm Brandon way and just goes, do you really want to know? And you two tag teamed the house and pointed out everything that was happening.
That's that. You're getting this happening in that room and this over here.
And the thing that blew me away even further, I was like, okay, that could all be bullshit. That could all be bullshit. That could all be someone telling you anything else. And then you happen to mention, like, oh, yeah, by the way, do you ever go out on your patio and notice rocks there? I was like, get the...
Random rocks laying about. Yeah. You had some fun things creeping around in that house still, because your grandparents are still there, right?
Yeah, my grandparents are still there.
In that creepy-ass middle room.
So paranormal stories about what happened in that middle bedroom. My aunt, her boyfriend at the time, and my cousin Daly, who was very young. I think she may have been 7, 8, very young. They had gone to. They were staying with us one Christmas. They were staying in that bedroom. Daly was in the middle of the two of them, and my aunt woke up at one point in the night, and Daly was moving down the bed, and so she was just kind of like, "Stupid kid," and like sort of grabs her arm and pulls her back up. Well, immediately and quickly, she gets yanked down the bed, and. Of course, then my aunt's very awake at this point, grabs her hand and starts pulling her back and realizes she's fighting with something else. She throws the sheets off, throws the blankets off, and she's got both of the kids' arms and is posted up behind her, and now she's being pulled in the air by something there's nothing on the other end of her.
Sure, that you could see.
No, nothing that you could see on the other end of her.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend wakes up and witnesses this whole thing. It's like, what the hell is happening in this house? And there's odd things like that. I would like to think that I have a pretty scientific thought process and a scientific brain, but I've seen things that I just go, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not going to call it anything.
Right.
I'm just going to say we don't have the tools yet to figure out what the fuck that was.
Qualify what was happening. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many times and instances of that. I go to my friends' houses and I do spiritual cleansings and stuff like that. And yeah, the weirdest things will come to mind and be like, well, this has been happening and that's been happening and that's been happening and getting a lot of chatter over here or whatever, what have you. And I always get those looks, that same look that you gave me about the rocks that. No, you're just messing with me, right? Like you're just screwing with my head. Like there's no way.
I'm still a skeptic. I'm still someone that wants to say, yeah.
Oddly enough, I try to look at the scientific side of things, like what could possibly be happening right now and going on with this. Even with, I do tarot readings at the Renaissance festivals.
Yeah,
I still take that with a grain of salt. A lot of it is psychology for me. I have a psychology degree, so I actually get to utilize that. But then there are those moments where there's a card or whatever, or I haven't even drawn a card in a minute, and I just look right at the person, and whatever falls out of my face that they haven't told anyone or have been really thinking really hard about, and nothing that has previously come up said anything about this. It's just bam, all of a sudden they're like, how did you know that? I was like, I didn't know. It just fell out of my face. I'm just as surprised as everybody else when things fall out of my face, to be honest. I'm really here for the entertainment as well as you guys, you know?
Yeah. But it's a weird balance for someone. So let's circle back to the healing aspect of it,
Yeah.
and the belief part of it. So, you have to be honest. Like, what you do, you believe in.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that skeptical side of you, and trying to understand, there's all sorts of Eastern philosophy stuff. There's books, the flow of energy, all these things.
Right.
I've seen it in action. I've seen it in action in an odd way. I've seen it in action on stage. I've seen someone come up and with a room that's just not in the mood to hear things, and hit the stage, because a lot of comics go up negative. It's just a thing.
Right.
But when you have that one person go up with, there's just positive everything, and you see it. I've known comics. I've loved working with them. I love going to mics and going up after them, because I know, like, oh, now we're in the right mood for me to do what I want to do.
Right.
I hate when I go up negative. Sometimes I've got some stuff stewing in my head, and I've written some things down, and I've got a whole different set in mind, but I'll even acknowledge it halfway through the time. I'm like, I'm 5 minutes in, and this has been a negative-ass set.
Right.
And I'm trying to turn it around, but I'm like, I'm sorry, there's stuff in the basement, and this is what's happening.
Right.
I can't navigate around it. So with that whole positivity, knowing how it happens, what you're not an always positive person.
No.
I mean, you've got some things that legitimately piss you off.
Oh yeah.
And impact you in a very negative way. With that whole turning energy around, I mean, do you just choose to eat the negative? I mean, you turn it around sometimes because it's a tool that needs to be used at times. Right. But give me what's your thought process on all of that? I was long-winded as hell, but
that's okay. No.
But
you
go.
had to do the things on how to get to that question too. Because it is a weird thing, right? Like, what do you do to change the energy right then, right there in that moment? And sometimes it's a matter of just literally shoving positive sunshine up my own ass until I smile through it and go, we're going to do this, guys. We're going to find that silver lining until we do. And then there's sometimes that I can just literally plant my feet and I'll change the entire environment of the room without saying a word. And we've seen this happen. I've done it so many times. I love telling the Marilyn Monroe story, how she's walking with her friend, and her friend knew her as Norma Jean in high school, right? And she's walking down Hollywood Boulevard, but nobody was recognizing her. Nobody was recognizing Marilyn freaking Monroe, right? And the friend's like, well, I came out here, I was expecting Marilyn Monroe. She, oh, you want Marilyn? And she takes a deep breath and just, and then Marilyn was going, and like, then from across the street, people recognized her because there was a different energy, a different aspect of her that she suddenly turned on. So I have over the years had to learn to Norma Jean more than I Marilyn Monroe, because I do like to get out there and make it a positive thing and stuff like that. But I found trying to eat it myself, trying to take on the negativity myself, just made me very, very negative.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to some weird, deep, dark, depressive times where I'm like, wow, I need to figure out who else is going through this right now and going through crap right now that I'm picking up and feeling. So rather than just eating it, taking it on to myself, I do look at the Mama Earth aspect, right? And just kind of get rid of it, dump it into the earth. Sure, my body can be a conduit to take it away from them, but it's going straight into the earth.
Yeah.
That saucy bitch can take care of anything. Like, that's literally where we can store it, or shoot it out into space if you want. But I've always found just grounding and just letting it flow through. Even while I'm doing massages on people, if I find a spot that's been really bad for a really long time, we'll start talking about what's gone on, emotionally or whatever, trauma and things, especially in the back in the shoulders, under the shoulder blades.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah, we're both a little.
People were both dying. But people are usually holding their stress and such underneath their shoulder blades. And there's so many times that I'll be working on that and people will suddenly, start thinking about their mom or their, this or that, some kind of traumatic event, something that happened 15, 20 years ago sometimes, that because they talk about it while I'm working on it, we can both feel it just just melt away, just and go. And there's often that when we get down to the root of it, when there are emotional ties to the pain, that the physical pain doesn't come back. People that will be like, well, I've gone to this massage therapist, I've gone to this chiropractor, I've gone to this doctor, nothing ever works, nothing ever works. I've had a massage where I started massaging this guy's back, and there was something about, I don't remember everything, and that's another thing I'll get into, just pinpoint that. But there was something about a red wagon. I don't remember anything else about it, but it triggered this flood of memories that he ended up crying, like sobbing terribly on the table. So we got to talk about it and get through it and all of that. But afterwards, he didn't have neck pain that he had been suffering through for 27 years, that he had this neck injury, and he thought it was all from an old car wreck and stuff like that. But then figured out that he had been carrying that emotional baggage and crap for so long that once he finally let that go, he stopped having the migraines and headaches and stuff like that.
And I want to cut off anyone that's thinking that this is just spiritual bullshit, because it's a mix of things. It's a mix of odd things, because the entire time that we talk a lot, and you know my vocabulary and you know the things I talk about, and in the middle of you working out different junk on my back and everything else, you almost teach me an anatomy lesson, because you're naming all the names of the things,
right?
Like, and not just like, oh, this is rib bone. No, you're giving the full the full Spanish scientific 15 syllable Latin, Latin,
whatever it is.
It's a late night. We're actually doing this pretty late, so I'm a little. Bleh. It's been a day.
It's been a day.
But you'll give like, oh, this is blah, 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 and this is connected to blah, 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 and what this is connected to is this, and these nerves are sideways, and we have to get...
Yes. Something like that.
So that mix of I guess, the belief aspect of it, and the weird...
Yeah,
the weird unexplainable
hippie
thing.
Voodoo magic.
Yeah, okay.
Hippie voodoo magic. I've given it a name a long time ago. Hippie voodoo magic. Like, I don't know that I always believe that it's going to work, but I believe that it's going to work, if that makes sense. Like, that skeptic side is still there with me. But the thing about, not remembering is, I go to a different place sometimes. Like, I'm doing readings for people during the day at fair, and I tell them flat out, there's no magic woo-woo going on. We're going to talk about this and see what's going on in your life. And those moments, like I said, that one card or one thing will come up and just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't remember most of those readings, like what actually happened during that reading, or like the red wagon guy, the massage. I don't remember what I said to him, because it was almost like I didn't say it. I mean, obviously my physical body said it, and I'm cluing in listening to it.
Yeah.
But it is really weird sometimes. At the end of the day at fair, if I've done 18, 20 readings or so, my brain feels like it's melting out of my ears. But I remember half of them, if not more. It's just, it goes away because I learned to dump it all. When I first started out, I was not doing that, both with massage and with readings. I was just like, I'm just going to eat it. I'm going to be a Death Eater, blah, blah, blah. I got this, right? I'm going to take this from you. And I didn't do anything with it, and I ended up hurting myself. So I took some mentors and counselors of all the different aspects of my life and all of the different hats that I wear to remind me, you don't have to take on the weight of the world. You're standing on top of the world, just let it go. Let it dump out.